Welcome back to the What Life. It is Tuesday night, which means one thing at the moment, that is fight night. This week we're going to try and hold on to the fast boys, or the big boys in the fast group. Let's see how this works out for us. So there are a few things that we need to consider, which is, firstly, the fast group the last few weeks has been quite big and it has been really quite fast, like over 45k an hour, which is probably a little bit too much for me. The second thing to consider is that if I join the fast group, the way that this group works, we select the slowest off first, then the middle group, then the fast group. If I join the fast group and I do not get, or I don't hold the wheel until we pass, you know, the first or the second group, then I'm basically cycling on my own, trying to catch two other pace lines. Hopefully we will survive the whole thing. It is quite intimidating, obviously. You know, these guys, same as me, they love riding their bikes, but they do all, you know, they have their club kits and their kind of team kits and things like that. It's a little bit intimidating, but I'm going to throw that to the side this evening. Just turn up, give it a shot. There probably won't be any filming, certainly on the camera, talking to camera whilst we do the ride, because faster group, I just really want to concentrate and try and do my best in terms of positioning and just kind of, yeah, give my 110% in terms of concentration. If you do hear from me, it will in all likelihood be because I have fallen off the group. Right, Tuesday night, fight night. Let's roll. I'm starting to really love the Tuesday night group chain gangs, through and offs, club rides, whatever you want to call it. I was chatting to one of the guys on the first week, which there's a video from, a guy called Hugh. I asked him, like, do you race? He was like, no, he doesn't really like racing. He just said he loves just doing group smash rides. I think that's quite nice, because you always get this perception that everyone's all about racing and going hard, and no, some people just like coming and riding their bike hard. So hopefully I'm in reasonably good company and I can hold on for at least long enough to survive. I'll lap my bike computer so I can see what the average speed is. Right, next stop, petrol station outside Windsor. Still don't know what it's called. So this is Hugh, who I met first time around on the first one I did, who doesn't race but loves coming and doing a Tuesday night smash, and I'm basically going to try to sit on his wheel. And he basically messaged me on Strava and said, come give the fast group a crack. So I thought, why not? So this is his fault. It's your fault, Hugh. Well, Hugh, mate, you were the one that told me to come with the fast boys. So
yeah, you're replacing me. You're the sacrifice. Enjoy it.
Fuck.
Enjoy it.
Where do I have to survive to?
Carters. These two will go at like 800-900 watts up there.
Okay.
Do the whole thing, so it's got to sit on here like.
Right, roger that.
Give it a go, I would.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. I didn't realise that we were swapping in though here.
Fast rotation.
Yeah.
Get off in front of you.
Okay. Pro tip, don't spend any time at the front. So what happened? I bet you did not expect to see me here. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't quite think I would be either. That was a disaster. and I'm going to talk you through it. So there were 8 of us, and I kind of thought that gave me half a chance of being able to sit in and survive for at least half the ride. I didn't make half the ride. So after we'd made our way through a traffic light which was causing a bit of a problem, I realized that I was going to have to hold over 4 watts per kg to sit in with these guys, which was going to be a bit of a problem for me. Because 4 watts per kg is just about my threshold, and anything over that, I start cooking, and I start cooking fast. It was a lot of fun, but I didn't look down at my bike computer very often because I was concentrating so hard on just trying to do my absolute best in the group. If my performance wasn't going to be up to standard, at least my attention to detail, my just mental focus, and just kind of being dialed in could be. I could take care of the stuff that I thought I could at least try and control. So all I was thinking about was the wheel in front of me, trying to hold a consistent power or consistent wattage, and just try and make sure that I didn't do anything silly. I don't think there's any shame in not being able to hold enough power, but I think there is a little bit of shame, or not shame, but I just don't think you should go into these things and just like dick around. So I wanted to take it seriously, and I did take it seriously. The problem is, within my equation, the one thing that was missing was the watts. So where did it go wrong? Ultimately, as the group starts getting into their rhythm, I kind of felt reasonably okay, but I knew from the off that this was going to be terribly hard and probably just a bit above my pay grade. But I was willing to find that out, and I have now. Hopefully I didn't ruin the ride for the rest of the guys. The pace started ramping up, which was kind of okay, because if you pay enough attention, you can try and sit on wheels and just kind of really try and be as aero as possible. Problem was that one rider who was particularly strong got to the front, and he was 2 wheels ahead of me. Now, he didn't just throw down the watts. You know, he gets into his position, he finds his rhythm, but you can tell that the watts have kind of upped slightly, and they didn't seem to stop upping. So he's first wheel, I'm third wheel, and it felt like he was dragging us forward into warp speed, and I just did not have that in my wheelhouse. I did manage to hold on for the first turn. The guy in front of me, he sat on, he did a 30-second pull at the most at the front. I got to the front, and if I'm honest with you, I probably should have just ducked straight to the back almost straight away there. I don't think there would have been any shame in it. It would have been the best thing for me. I don't think it would have made any difference in terms of like surviving, you know, longer than I did, or maybe it would have, but not for very long. So once I'd made my first turn, I did 20-30 seconds on the front. The problem was that coming round for the second turn, some of the key differences in changing from pace group to pace group is when you get to the back and you're the last guy, when you've come off of the group, you really do have to dig out watts to get on the back. So not only do you put watts on the front, but when you get to the back, you have to dig out a bunch of watts to start moving with the group again. So you kind of get this like 2 points where you are pushing watts. You push watts, you drift to the back of the group, and then you have to push a few extra watts to kind of get back onto the group, and then you can find your position and relax a little bit. Now guys, I didn't have any watts to spare. I was working at max capacity, doesn't matter where I was in the group. I just knew that every time I got closer to the front of the group, I was working well over max capacity. For me, at the point where it went wrong, I would have been holding well over kind of maybe 4.5 watts per kg. And I couldn't do that for very long. The guy that made his way to the front, which is this guy, who was lovely, by the way, who I will add, was, you know, introduced himself at the start of the ride, which was nice. And then when he had his turn in the front, he eased into his watts, and it was just way too much for me. Credit to the guys that were behind me, they kind of realized I was struggling straight away, and they came round to my right. I didn't know what to do at that point. I will put my hand in the air, I don't know what to do, other than just, you know, I was trying my absolute hardest to try and hold the wheel. A gap of about a meter and a half, maybe 2 meters opened up, and before I'd even realized it, the group was coming past me. The guy that was behind me kind of realized what was happening, and they just kind of disappeared off, and I had no chance of basically getting onto the back again. I didn't want to, quite frankly. I didn't even want to, not that I would have been able to, I was just happy for them to disappear off. But it did kind of change my Tuesday night ride. You know, I then have to kind of put my tail between my legs and cycle home. And this is how the rest of my night finished.
What the hell was that? That was brutal.
Guys, I lasted about 8 minutes of what was going to be a 35-minute ride. Just way above my FTP. I realized I'd made a massive mistake quite early on. But I thought it's good to try. It's good to know what not to do, and I should not be joining that group for a while. Okay, my tips. Firstly, like, the rotations were fine. You know, you work towards the front and the watts go up and they get harder and harder as you get closer to the front. I tried to keep I only survived 1 turn, but then I was panicking like crazy because I was working my way back to the front and I was like, I can't keep putting more watts down. I cannot keep trying to get faster. So I didn't really know what to do, because the guy in front of me, and you'll see it on the tape, is the 2 guys in front. One of the big boys got to the front and he put watts, maybe not in his terms, but in my terms, in my relative terms, he put watts down. Such a noticeable difference of him just like going through his gears and settling into his pace, which was just like 4 gears above what I'm capable of doing. And I knew as soon as he got in the front, I was like, this is trouble, because I'm third wheel. I now am nowhere near being able to hold the group. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, like, I don't know how to like put your hand up, hey teacher, sorry, I can't do this. So I just tried, but luckily these guys are quite, well, obviously quite drilled. One of the guys saw me, like, I was only like it felt like I was 2 meters off the wheel in front. Straight away the line just goes past me. It's almost like they were like, right, we know. So sorry to Berkshire Gregarios. I don't feel like I do kind of feel like a bit of a knob, but at the same time I don't, because I'm really like, I think it's great that you get the opportunity to try. But I was really impressed with like how quickly the guys were like, this guy is done. I took it as seriously as I could, guys. I didn't come into this like to film. I came into this to ride my bike, which I didn't manage to do. And then on top of that, trying to hold the watts and bumping around a bit, I managed to sit on the nose of my saddle and my saddle's pointed down. So something has happened as well. So I got to fix that. But luckily I didn't even catch one of the other groups. Didn't hold on long enough to catch a group. So I'm not going to try and do that. I guess I'm just going to go for a loop back home. I'm in good company with these bins, huh? Absolute trash. Absolute trash. Anyway, appreciate the Berkshire Gregarios for kind of being on board with like, let me at least try. But wow, like I couldn't catch the guy's name who was on the front, but you can just tell he was just working through. It wasn't like a fast change. It wasn't like, oh, someone else is on front, just like nice and smooth, but you could tell it was getting a bit quicker. And then it just didn't slow down, as in it didn't like increase and then level off. It was just increasing. And I was like, and then you get to your lactate and you're done, you're cookied. And I was an absolute cookie. So I guess you probably call this a ride of shame, because I wasn't going to catch any of the other pace groups, so I'm not going to carry on with the loop. I'm not even sure if I made it a mile. No, I made it maybe a couple of miles. This seems like as good a place as any to fix my bike. I'm going to fix my saddle. Yeah, like this, it feels like a bit of a ride of shame, but because it's local, I'm not too far to get home. You do kind of feel like a bit of a knob, not to, you know, joining in a group and then getting absolutely pied out the back, dusted off within the first like 8 minutes. And we even went through a traffic light, so it's more like 5 minutes. Yeah, I think lessons, let me give you some lessons. One thing I probably could have done differently was like just completely not have a turn in the front, as in as soon as you get to the front, 5-10 seconds and then turn off. I mean, it felt like I did 5 or 10 seconds, but I think in reality I maybe did like 20 to 30 seconds. And obviously second wheel, you're still putting in quite a lot of watts. When I was third wheel, it was one of the big boys at the front, so that was quite a lot of watts. It's just too much for me, and I realized that very soon. But you don't have a "mummy, I want to go home now" button on a chain gang. But I definitely ended up having to well, it wasn't even my choice. The decision was made for me when the entire group went round me. But did I enjoy it? It's intimidating, and I think part of that now is I've got to turn up next week. I don't mind doing it. I'll turn up and be like, look, that's way too much for me. And I'm sure it'll be like not like a funny thing amongst the group, but I don't mind it being like I've played sport my whole life. But yeah, I'm now like have to go back next week and be like, oops. I just hope I didn't like ruin it too much for the boys. I know that we weren't too far from a junction, and a junction will bring the group together again, so gives them a little bit of a chance. So even though I kind of ballsed it up, I didn't, well, this is what's going through my head, I didn't balls it up in like a long straight where I completely split the group and screwed it for them. Hopefully, you know, they sailed off into the distance. I blinked and they were gone. Right, I'm gonna fix my saddle. Right, that's me done for the night, guys. I'm gonna head home. I do love bike culture. I think it's great that there's just groups that turn up and just do that. Yeah, it was too much for me, and I'm cool with that now anyway. Yeah, it's good that there's just these, like there was 8 of us, and I say there was 7 of them and one of me. But it's cool that there's groups that are just super, well, for me, super strong. It's impressive that guys come out and just want to cycle that damn hard on a Tuesday night. So awesome, guys, thanks for sticking around. Hopefully that was a bit insightful. If nothing else, I will see you guys at another one. Please do like and subscribe, and we will try and maybe do that in another 4 or 5 months time and see what happens. No promises.